Welcome to Done Pretending, the podcast where healing meets authentic living. I am your host, Susan Houston, storyteller, mentor, and believer in the power of truth to set us free. This is your sanctuary for the soul, a safe space where we peel back the layers of judgment and fear to uncover the beauty of living real. Each week, you'll hear stories of courage, resilience, and transformation that remind you it's never too late to become who you were created to be. Welcome back to Done Pretending. I'm Susan Houston, your host, and I am so excited to talk to an incredible author, Lani Almanza. She is a writer, a wellness coach, and the founder, and I'm going to butcher this name, Alakai Associates.
Alakai.
See, I can whenever I go to Hawaii, I can never say it. Alakai.
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 Yeah.
I'll get it someday.
Alakai is the Hawaiian word for mentor or guide.
Oh, that's perfect. Because what you do is you help people cultivate balance, resilience, and connection, right? Yes. So how long have you lived on Hawaii? Did you grow up there?
Yes, I was born and raised here. Had a brief period of my very young childhood in Kansas City, Missouri, from 1 to 5.
I lived in Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah, so we were there while my dad went to Kansas City Art Institute. But he's originally from Nebraska, ended up in Hawaii with the Navy. And so after Kansas City, we were right back in Hawaii.
Yeah. I can't blame you there.
Yeah.
What a magical place. There is just something about the Hawaiian people that is just so pure and so full of love. The Hawaiians that I've gotten to know.
Yeah. Well, it's the Aloha spirit. So that's why I'm wearing my Aloha t-shirt today.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's definitely a way of life that is imbued into this place, this very special place, this little tiny place in the middle of the largest body of water on the planet, that just evokes something special.
Is what got you into helping people? I know that you're a wife, you're a mom, you're a grandmother now, and you've done a lot of caregiving in the past.
Yeah.
And so is that what got you into building this this help for people?
Yeah, it really was. I've always personally had an interest in wellness and trying to keep my family healthy. But it wasn't till I was in the midst of caregiving for my youngest son, Jacob, who passed away 20 years ago, that I realized in the midst of my busy doing life, I needed to find ways to bring myself back. That Lani had gotten lost in this wife, mother, professional, life. And I really needed some tools for self-care. And the first lesson was in honoring my breath. Because when we're in those crisis moments, we're always holding our breath. And so to really anchor into an inhale and an exhale became very foundational for me. And so it was as I came through that experience and then into caregiving for my parents, realized how important those self-care habits, practices are to our overall wellness and well-being. And now self-care has sort of this overuse connotation or interpretation. And so I'm really trying to anchor people into that connection with themselves, but also connection with community that can support them on their journey.
Well, and that's so important. I'm in the midst of being a caregiver for my mom as well. And there are days where you're so deep in that you forget about your needs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I felt a lot, and I'm wondering if this comes up with a lot of your clients and people that you work with. So there are days, and I've learned what helps me is if I can get out in nature
Mm-hmm.
and go for a walk. I love to hike.
Yeah.
And if I take a half a morning and go and get on that, and it's got to be a dirt trail, I feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That caregiver guilt. A lot of people carry that. And that's one of the reasons that I've aligned with an organization called Give Me a Break, which
Mm,
is caring for caregivers and really helping caregivers learn those kind of practices and not feel guilty
mhm,
about it. That it doesn't necessarily have to be a full morning. It can be 5 minutes in the morning that you step outside into the natural light, which is beneficial for your body. If you can, on bare feet on the ground for that grounding connection.
mhm.
And if you do that every morning, you'll start to see how your mindset shifts. If you step out and do the grounding and breathing at the same time, two things together that will again amplify that mind shift and could actually carry you at least through the morning, and then at lunchtime you go out and do it again. At the end of the day you go out and do it again. I like
Yeah.
to help people just keep it simple, especially caregivers. We don't have 2 hours to go get the luxury massage or the mani-pedi, but we do have
No.
moments. We have moments where
Yes.
we can come back to ourselves, get a mindset reset, and be able to make better decisions for the person we're caring for
Hmm.
and ourselves.
Hmm. I love that. Eh, before you ever said that, that's something that I've implemented probably the last couple of months. I was up visiting my daughter in Northern California and happened to wake up every day facing east and watching the sunrise over some pine trees, which I love pine trees.
Yeah,
And wow, what a difference that made.
yeah,
I wasn't tired when I woke up. I would get up, I would watch it, I would meditate or, breathe and give gratitude.
yeah,
And I was so creative during that time.
yeah,
And so I do it here. Now I wake up to birds chirping
yeah,
outside my window.
yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
amazing how our bodies can very easily come back to the natural rhythms that we're designed with when we get into the natural light and have that early morning sunrise to look at or just to feel. You might not necessarily see it coming up over pine trees or a beach horizon,
right.
which I
It can be
love.
wherever.
Yeah, you can
Hmm.
be wherever. Just stepping outside into that environment really
Hmm.
grounds you, connects you, re-energizes you, and really, like you said, it can open up so much creativity, and not necessarily in an artistic way, but even creative thinking. So if you're in the midst of caregiving, sometimes we get stuck in these routines and regimens, and we lose that creative thought process that sometimes can actually help us and the person we're caring for move through the day.
Wow, that's very true. You know, sometimes I get really frustrated because, as you know, when you're caregiving, you're at the mercy of their schedule sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm a very scheduled person. I worked in administration for over 20 years. So, I've got my day kind of calendared out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that doesn't always work for my mom. She may sleep longer or she may
Yeah.
go lay down again. And it's like, no, I have this window to get your shower
Yeah.
or to feed you lunch. And learning to be flexible in that. And I go out in the backyard and just watch the birds. We have squirrels. She feeds the squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
And just take a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was
yeah.
talking to someone the other day that she said she calls it her hammock moments because she has a hammock in her backyard. And she says sometimes her mom will even tell you, I think you need a hammock moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I am sure my mom would say the same. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So tell me about your book. It's called Beyond Horizons?
Beyond the Horizon, A Guide
Beyond
for
the
Life's
Horizon.
Journey. And this is my second book. After I wrote my first one, I thought it was one and done. And I'm very grateful to Sarah Jeffress, who has connected us, who was my writing coach for both of them.
Yep, had her on the podcast an episode or so
Yeah,
before this. Fabulous.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the first one was really sort of a chronicle of my caregiving journey that I recognized began when I was very young, because I was the oldest of 4 kids. And then the life lessons that I learned through those caregiving experiences along the way. So I thought I was done after I got one book out. And then just about 2 years ago, I was reading a book called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And towards the end of it, he has this wonderful quote, which I would want to read because I always sort of get it messed up. It's, if you are willing to just stand at the edge and keep walking, you will go beyond. And it struck me because I had not thought of writing a second book. But at that moment, I thought, beyond what? Like, at this point in my life, I've written a book. So now what's next? So I just kind of kept that idea for the year, and anything that said beyond, I kind of gathered that together. And it was towards the end of the year, I was at an event. I was in a location that was just so inspirational that I said, this is the place I will write my second book.
Wow.
And of course, I immediately texted Sarah, and she's like, all right, let's go. But this one was, okay, how am I going to write beyond what I wrote the first time? What is there?
Right.
What's next? And so it's framed with the idea of the 4 seasons, the 4 directions, and the elements that are connected to them. And reflecting on where we are at any point in our life in any one of those seasons or connected to any one of those elements. And at the end of each section, I have some reflection questions, and then I intentionally left a blank page, sort of like a journal, for the reader to write their answers or their own reflections or draw a picture, whatever inspires them at that point in time.
Oh, I love that. And is it available now or available for
Yes.
pre-order?
It's available now on Amazon.
Great.
You can
Great.
go directly to Amazon, or you can go to my website, alakaiassociates.com, and click on the link there. That will
Perfect.
take you.
And I'll put all those links in the show notes too.
Yeah. So yeah, that and the first book, Under a Full Moon and a Guiding Star, are both available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover.
That's great. How did you find the whole writing process? Sarah and I talked about how therapeutic it can be.
Very much
Did you
so.
find that? Did it help you?
Yes. It was very interesting because the way I met Sarah was through a woman that was on the podcast with Give Me a Break and the Caring Caregiver show. And she had written her story about her caregiving journey. And when I read it, well, first when I heard her on the show, it's like, there's something about this woman I want to connect with. I got her book and I read it. And when I contacted her, I said, Miriam, the fact that you could write your story in your voice confirmed that I could write my story in my voice. And so she said, well, do you have a writing coach? And I said, no. And she said, well, let me connect you with mine. It was that first connection with Sarah was that she was so intuitive about the process. And she asked me what had been my sort of roadblock into actually starting the writing process. And I said, I get stuck on a structure. Like, should it be an autobiography or should it be fiction or nonfiction? How should I tell this story? So the structure is what holds me back. And she said, okay, good. And I'm like, what? How is that good? She said, because we're not going to start there. She said, you have shared with me that you have written a lot of things. You journal a lot. And so just send me everything. And she said, eventually the structure will emerge. And about 3 months into the process, it did. The other thing that Miriam told me was if I was going to work with Sarah, I needed to keep a box of Kleenex on my desk. Because Sarah will make you go deep. And she did. But for all for good reasons. Really drawing out and being vulnerable enough to really dive deep into the story that I wanted to share.
Well, I can tell you that even when I've been writing speeches and I'm part of a speaking group, and we had to start by writing a personal story, and it was from my childhood, something that I hadn't really spent time thinking about in over 40 years. But as I got into detail, same thing, a lot of prompts, a lot of details, it it really it was it was therapeutic.
Hmm.
You
Very
know,
much.
it was very hard, but it was also a release
Yes.
of a lot of things that I didn't even know my body still held on to.
Right, right. Yeah, it's a very healing process. And
Yeah.
I do a journaling workshop, and also just the power of pen to paper that we have lost in our technological world, that
I agree.
working on a keyboard does not connect with your brain the way holding a pen and actually writing does.
Yeah.
That it really, that connection is mind, body, and spirit coming together to really tell the story that you want to tell.
And, you know, I fight against that. Like, I do journal and I love journaling, but even in writing speeches and writing this TEDx talk that I'm giving, I was doing it on the computer because it was so much faster to edit and do
Yeah.
things. And I, I was somewhere in my car and started writing things out, and I was amazed at how much more of my true voice came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always encourage everyone to journal. Do you have any framework around how you like to do that? I always start with what I'm grateful for, but I list what I'm grateful for today, or as Lucy Dutton taught me, what went well today.
Hmm.
But then I am also listing what I'm grateful for in the future.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Actually, my journaling workshop kind of is to help dispel any barriers, roadblocks, or perceptions about journaling, because a lot of
Mm,
people think that it's just about writing,
hmm.
and so I take people through a creative process to create something that is meaningful and connected to their authentic self before they even start writing.
Yeah.
We do a sensory exercise where you're just observing what's around you,
Mm,
and then writing about how that made you feel. Not necessarily about just what you saw, not just the list of I saw a bird, but
right.
how did seeing that bird or hearing that bird make you feel? What did it connect you to? And I remember a woman at one of the workshops saying that that really opened it up for her. She said, because my journals have always sort of just been a list or a chronological account of what happened during the day. And I never dove into how it made me feel. And so that really appreciated that that is what happened for her. For some people, it's that they might have more artistic abilities or processes. And
Hmm.
so journaling might just be drawing
Mm,
what you're feeling or what you're seeing. And so I try to take people through that process so that they're not so stuck on. In fact, one woman said, I have a drawer full of very pretty journals that I see at the store or I see online. It's like, oh, that's so pretty. I would write in that. And then I get it and I might write once in it and then stop.
mm.
And it's so what is the barrier? Is it the writing? You know, what are they thinking they have to write? And I said, I've journaled most of my life, adult life. And sometimes I look back over the years, I keep them, sort of see my evolution. And sometimes it's been months or even years of just angst or venting. You know, you're in the middle of a crisis or a caregiving journey where it just feels heavy. And that's a
Yeah.
way to release that. And other times it's more joyful or more creative. So I just want to help people embrace that process because it is so therapeutic and healing to write. And I say write in a very loose term in that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
To express
You
yourself.
know, I love what you said about writing how you feel, because especially as women who have been the wife, who have been the employee, who have been the mom, the caregiver, we bury our feelings because we're just surviving,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
just getting through the day of all the tasks that we have to do. We're shoring everyone up around us.
Mm-hmm.
We're making sure that they're all good, and we forget about ourselves.
Yeah.
So I love that idea of, and I think I'm going to incorporate this now. Um, what went well today, but how did it make me feel?
Yeah.
Um, wow.
Yeah.
Lonnie, I think that's gold.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just recently shared another piece from my first book. That the section is called "She Is Me," and it just talks about this woman who is coming home from work after she picked up her son from basketball practice, but she's also finishing her education. And she gets home and she unloads the groceries, and the cats are interfering because they want to be fed. And then we fix dinner, and then after dinner there's probably a load of laundry and asking your family to help clean up. And then once that's all said and done, she now has homework to do. And just that, in the midst of that doing busy life, where
Yeah.
where are you? Where is your authentic self? And when do you make time to find her?
Right. And like you said before, so many people think, well, I don't have time to take an hour, a couple hours. You have time to take 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think if we're all honest, we all pick up our phones way too much. So, if you take that, I, a good friend of mine started locking his in a lockbox, timed lockbox. And I'm like, oh, I don't know that I could do that. People
Yeah.
need to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
And he said, well, for an hour, you can do that,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah. Or,
You know?
I find it incredible that people are so attached to their phones that they take it to the bathroom with them.
Yes.
It's like, I am not going to answer the phone or make a phone call while I'm in there. That is not my library. It might be for some, but it's not mine. So, it's like, take 5 minutes to just disconnect. And whether it's in the bathroom or in the shower, but definitely disconnect from that, your computer, your phone, your your iPad, whatever it is, for 5 minutes.
Yes.
And again,
yes.
take that 5 minutes to take some deep breaths. I tell people 1 deep breath is good, but there is so much more benefit in 3 deep breaths. There's actually science behind the power of those 3 deep breaths. How
Yes.
it gives you more oxygen that your brain is crying out for, desperately needs, in order for you to have clarity to make good decisions. So take, and all it takes is a couple minutes to do
Right.
3 deep breaths.
Right.
But
If that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and even when you're in the moments of caregiving where you start to get frustrated, tell somebody, you know what? I just need 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Step outside, take those 3 deep breaths. And again, if you make this a practice, you will see how quickly your mindset starts to shift. It's like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I can go back in and either confront the situation or remedy the situation or have the conversation with a clearer mind.
Yep. And I look at those moments that I know are going to be a little more difficult, and I look at them as sprints. I can do this for a short amount of time and then give myself a break and come back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's super important. Oh, well, Lonnie, this has been absolutely wonderful.
Well,
I encourage everyone to get your book, and we will put the notes in there.
yeah, thank you.
Is there any parting thoughts you would like to share with our listeners?
I shared one yesterday, and I think I want to share it again with you today because it seems a little whimsical, but it might strike a chord. And because on the cover of my book there are whale tails, the humpback whale has a very a significant role in this story. But this is called Advice from a Whale. So make a splash, move with grace and beauty, explore the depths of your true nature, think big, keep a song in your heart, remember to come up for air, and no blubbering.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love the no blubber.
Yes. I think, we can sometimes get ourselves at a place where we want to complain about our situation. It's like, you don't want to stay there. Like, that's the last thing on the list because you don't want to stay there.
Right. Right. And I think you mentioned it before, surrounding yourself with the right people
Yes.
that you can have those moments with,
Yeah.
without pretending to be the strong person that you always have to be for everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep. Well, enjoy Hawaii.
Yes. I'm hoping we get some blue skies, but probably not today.
Well, we've got them here in sunny Southern California.
All right.
So
Well, enjoy.
thank you. And I will, listeners, all of Lani's information will be in our show notes. Get on our website, take a look, and be sure and share this episode with your friends. This is so important. And click the follow button. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat in whatever program you're listening to this in, and I will be sure and get back to you. Right. Again, Lani, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining me on Done Pretending, where healing meets authentic living. If today's conversation moved you, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't yet, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. Your words help this message reach more hearts around the world. Remember, you are seen, you are loved, and your story has the power to set others free.